Okay, like I had mentioned before, we are starting something a little bit new for me today. So I hope I am getting every button clicked correctly so that this will record. And the new group that I have created for Facebook is basically called WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics. And so that should hopefully catch everything that we need. And you can see that recording afterwards, just exactly as soon as we finish the meeting. So we are live on Facebook now at that particular address. Again, WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics. So what I wanted to share with you today is some information about insomnia. How many of you are sleeping okay? I think that's probably a hard thing to do. We are not sleeping very good, most of us. And so I wanted to share some ideas about that. So on the WAVwatch, and I think I've seen everybody here is a WAVwatch user, but let's just make for sure that you are. So you should have a booklet, hopefully, that you can look at. And I'll try to tell you the page numbers, but I also tried to put it on the screen for you. So you're going to have your WAVwatch, and hopefully everybody knows how to use that WAVwatch now at this point in time. So the WAVwatch, again, you're going to start at the bottom. There's three buttons, but the very bottom button, you're going to turn it on by holding it for 3 seconds. You'll turn it off by holding it for 2 seconds. And then one that kind of catches people up once in a while, it goes to sleep because it's conserving energy. So if you see a blank screen, you can try to touch it for 1 second and it will come up with usually the clock. It kind of looks like a cloud. And then you can swipe across the screen to get to the frequency program that you are playing. So if you're sleeping a lot or not sleeping, there's some different things that you could be doing. So basically, you're going to be looking for some ideas for sleep. So I just wanted to share them with you and give you some testimonies verbally that people have given to me. So the first thing is insomnia, so that's an easy one to find. You're going to go to self-care and then insomnia, and then there are 3 different categories. So insomnia is a good one. Sleep apnea. I see I can't even spell today. Sleep apnea and sleep disorders. So all 3 of those could be possibilities. So you could set your watch so that it would run through all of those in an 8-minute increment. I would do some muscle testing and just select one of those and run that all night long. So that's one of the better ways to do that. So those are obvious things that you can do for sleep, but it gets quite a bit deeper than that. There are so many more things connected with our sleep, and I think everybody would agree with that. So it's very important that you kind of think through and listen to your body. That's the most important thing, is that you're listening to your body. And I think everybody on this program is. Obviously, they have invested in the WAVwatch, or they're looking at it. You may be on here just trying to see if you want to order it, or maybe it's somebody that you want to get, or something you might consider sharing with somebody else or ordering with somebody else. So it is important that you are paying attention to your body. And again, my congratulations, because I think everybody here is doing that. So those 3 programs are the obvious ones, but let's dig just a little bit deeper. And I'd like to know why there we go. I'm not sure where my screen isn't sharing correctly here. We'll go to this one. It's not sharing very good. So a second area that you might be able to see is emotions. And maybe you've looked through your emotion folder and you see that there are 3 different categories for emotions. I mean, how hard is that? Sleep 1, sleep 2, and sleep 3, all connected with emotions. Now, you may not know exactly what those emotions are, but they're pretty easy to look at and to think about and to just click your watch. Again, you're going to go to emotions, and then you'll go down until you find emotions and sleep. And then again, I would start all three of those, or possibly, save them somewhere else. I prefer to actually muscle test. And it seems to me like when I muscle test, I'm using, this one here. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night, and I might muscle test. I'll be saying to myself, do I need emotions and sleep 1? And this is the ring to ring concept. And I've showed this a couple times before. And I'm not sure if I'm getting where everybody can see this, but you'll be making a ring with each finger in a loop. And then you'll say to yourself, do I need emotions and sleep 1? That was a no. Do I need emotions and sleep 2? Actually, that's the one that tested right now. Do I need emotions and sleep 3? And that was a no for me. So especially if I wake up in the middle of the night, I might try the quick muscle testing and select one of those. Now, you don't have to know what emotions, you just know that you're not sleeping very well. So those are very, very easy to use. So would anybody have any comments on using those? Have they ever used those before? Anybody tried those? You can unmute yourself, I believe. Okay, I have had some testimonies on those, and people are doing some muscle testing and seeing that those are working for them. Another really good testimony I have is on my website, and I'm not sure that I can, verbatim recall it, but basically it was a naturopathic doctor who said she hadn't slept in 25 years, and she was using the insomnia codes that were the first one. That was pretty cut and dried. If you can't sleep, insomnia. And she had used those, and she said basically it was the first time that she'd slept in 25 some years. And of course she had done lots and lots of things and spent lots of money to work with those. So very interesting that the WAVwatch was able to do that. So that was her thing, that she used the WAVwatch for the most. So very good that you can change different things. It makes it so easy when you're not put into a mold, and you can open up your mind a little bit to try some different things. And then I have a note. I don't know if all of you can see that. Someone said that they've tried emotion, but she has more success with calming and bipolar. So that we're going to go into that a little bit more too. So that one, you don't even have to know which emotion. You're just kind of, playing along with the easy way out. And if it works for you, or if you can muscle test it, that's a good place to start. So I'm going to try to see if I can share this screen again for our next slide. So another idea would be detox. So I wish this was just a little bit larger for you. Can't seem to get the right situation that I want here. It doesn't move very good. I'll try it, but there we go. Detox was what I wanted to mention next. So I'm finding that people are not sleeping, or maybe they are woke up, or they're having all kinds of problems with EMFs. And I don't even think I should have to say, most of you are really aware of that. So a couple of ideas that you could also play for sleeping would be EMF and the electrosmog detox, or the radiation detox. And of course, you want to be doing as many things as you can for that Wi-Fi problem, or the 5G. I just noticed that my sleep patterns have gotten more messed up in the last 10 days when I have heard more and more about 5G being turned on. I don't know if that's the problem or not, but I have definitely been paying attention to that. I make sure that I turn off my Wi-Fi. I don't use my phone up to my ear. It's on speaker and a little bit of a distance from me. I don't carry it on my body. And most of you are really aware of that, but you may not think about sharing that with somebody else that maybe is new to the idea of EMFs causing some problems. Other ideas, there are essential oils. Rosemary is a great one, and possibly some other essential oils that could be very good for detoxing. and helping you with electromagnetic problems that could be messing up your sleep. So sometimes maybe it's just lavender, would make you sleep better too. So a lot of different things can be connected. And of course, most of us that have or are using essential oils do know that they have very high frequencies. They've been able to measure those frequencies. And so those are really good for that possibility. Anybody have any ideas? Have they been able to try the EMF? I know the main testimony that I've gotten from another gal is that it does definitely, the EMF and electrosmog detox is her go-to for anxiety. So of course, anxiety is not going to let you sleep very well. So those two go hand in hand, whether it's during the day that you're, doing this, or whether it's at night that you're trying to use the EMF and electrosmog detox. So very, very important ideas. Now, the next thing I want to share with you, I'm not sure if everybody has seen this before, and I think this is so interesting. This is a Chinese body clock, and this is one of my favorite things, but I'm not saying that I have it memorized completely. So we need to know, obviously, more about our sleep problem. So if you haven't thought this through a little bit, or maybe you can ask somebody if they are looking at the WAVwatch and say, well, would it help me with my sleep problem? You might be able to say, well, what time are you waking up? So there's great information here, and I've got a couple of different charts for you. But obviously, the Chinese body clock has been around for thousands of years, and the brilliance of it is just totally amazing. So if your person, one of the easiest things for you or somebody that you might be trying to help, or maybe your child, is not sleeping, think or learn the time, pay attention to the time that you are waking up. So if you wake up from 1 to 3, right here, you've got liver problems. So your liver is overwhelmed. Just a couple ideas on this screen, and then we're going to be talking about it in a little bit more depth too. But so alcohol, drugs, poor diet, anything along this way. So possibly addictions. There is something that you could run for addictions. All the detox ideas could be ran also. Or how about just running the frequencies for liver? So if I were you, I would go to the organs folder and run all of those frequencies for liver. And that might be if you woke up at 1 and you've got your watch on, you could just, set it for the liver right at that particular time. Now that has happened to me before, and I've gone right back to sleep. And usually that catches me the 1 to 3, not all the time, but that has been helpful. And it does seem like my sleep patterns are, pretty erratic and different things at different times. But I know the liver one has been very, very helpful. So again, you go to organs and you play everything connected with liver. Maybe you're just going to touch one and make it circle through all night long. So that's a good one. Now we'll be talking about emotions that are connected to the liver in just a little bit. But another idea is if you look at the time that you're waking up, and it's between 3 and 5, that's actually problems with your lungs. So it's telling you that your lungs are trying to expel toxins if you're waking up a lot. Your body temperature has gone down. You're going to see that you, maybe you're the coldest, you're pulling up the covers, all of that kind of thing. And that's simply, a very simple explanation, is that the lungs kind of have more control of your bodies. That's a little bit what the Chinese body clock is. It's telling you which organ system is more in control, is kind of taking the lead at that point in time. And those other systems are kind of in the background more. So that's why that particular organ system might be irritating if it's not working well enough. So again, if you wake up between 3 to 5, you're possibly having some problems with your lungs and your body temperature. So again, easy, go to organs, and then you try to set the lung ideas. And there is a combo, I believe, on that one. And that would be on page 10 right here in the booklet, and it says acute respiratory combo. So when it says combo, that means there's a combination of ideas all about the lungs, so that you can just click that one and then you can set the double arrows. And I hope everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say the double arrows. You're going to have your WAVwatch on. You will have your program figured out. And so on this one, we're going to go to organs. I don't think you can see very well on this, but we're going to go down to lungs. And then you would just click the respiratory combo. And then in the lower left corner, and again, I've got an illustration of this. I have videos of this. I've showed this in several videos and an instruction video. So basically on this lower left corner, there are 3 icons that you can set. And if it is set with the 1 and 2 arrows looping around it, that's your clue there. It's going to loop the rest of the night for you. So you could actually, if you know you've got lung problems, you're going to bed and you're coughing already, I would start with those lung problems, play those right at the start and make it loop all night long for you. And I've actually done that. I haven't had COVID, but I've had, some problems with lungs. And I just play that when I get into bed and I'm sleeping 8 hours, so different ways that you could do that. So again, we'll be talking about lungs and some emotions that might be helpful later. But right now, we're just kind of looking at a couple of other ideas. So, yes.
That looping, that's the one most people have a lot of trouble with. Even I still do. So when I press the program I want to play, my combo, if I just press until it shows the loop going over and over again, it'll play the combo over and over again, the entire menu.
No, it'll only play the one that's on the screen. It only loops the one that you selected on the screen.
Okay, and then to play the combo then of, let's say I have a allergy combo and I want to play that looping over and over all night long. How do I set that?
The double arrows looping around the 1.
Okay, the double arrows looping around the 1.
Yeah, it's a 1 with arrows, 2 arrows looping around.
Yeah. Okay. And what is the 1 arrow looping around?
That means that it will shut off. It will just play 1 time and it'll shut off. It's the 1 with a square around it. 1 with a square. And that's in your booklet. It has that information right there so that you can point that out to people. And I even circle it, if you need to remember where that's at. But usually with a couple of adjustments, you'll be able to do it. Now, see, my watch kind of went to sleep on me. So all I have to do is just, swipe across the screen. And some people do have trouble with that too. They're not realizing that it's going to swipe, that all you have to do is swipe across the screen. They think it's not working. So it's just conserving energy a little bit here. So again, one of the reasons I called my group fanatics is because people are wearing these out because we're wearing them 24 hours a day, so after you've used it a little bit, you'll see that clock, the cloud looking idea coming up. And all you have to do if you want to see what's on the screen is just swipe across. So of course, you're going to see that there is a countdown. Again, I know you can't see this very well here, but there is a countdown, and I've already been running this 3 minutes as I was talking, and the total idea for the respiratory combo is about 40 minutes. So again, all of this isn't written down, but when, one only has an 8-minute cycle, that's usually just playing that idea by itself. If it has a longer cycle like this one, then it's playing several ideas that I put together. That's why I called it a combo, so that you don't have to keep pressing buttons. You just play lung combo, and it's got it covered with detox and with several other ideas in that. So it's got bronchitis in it. It has lung abscesses. It might have pneumonia. It has several ideas in it. So again, mine kind of went to sleep. And again, all I have to do is just hold it for a second, and it will come back on the screen. So sometimes, again, people have trouble with that. You have to kind of get the feel for your second, but it's easily handled. Okay. So one more thing on this screen, I hope that you like this. You can go online and find several different pictures for Chinese body clocks. And that is easy to do. They even actually have clocks you can put on the wall now so that you can see this. And I'm really tempted to order one. I wish I would have had it so I could have made this presentation with it. But it's great information throughout all of this. So huge, huge information for you. Now, how about if you wake up between 11 and 1? So some of you have different patterns and times that you're going to wake up. So that's usually going to be a gallbladder problem. So all you have to do is swipe your screen here, and then you'll go back if you need to. You'll go back one more time, and you're going to go to gallbladder. So on this one, I was in lungs when I was showing it to you before. I'm just going to go up. I went up on this side screen, and then I see gallbladder. And I know it's really hard for you to see here. Not quite sure how to do that, but hopefully you all have a watch in your hand anyway, And so this particular one, it says biliary tract diseases or gallstones. You might have to make a pick on this one. You could play through all 4 of them, but sorry, the limitation on this, if there's 4 in this folder, it just doesn't keep looping all 4 of them. You have to make a decision and pick one of those, okay? So that's a way that you could work with gallbladder if you wake up from 9 to 11. So very, very important to pay attention to when you're waking up and what problem is going on there. Okay, so what if you can't even go to sleep? What do you think that is? Well, that's pretty easy to look at when you look at the triple warmer. That's from 9 to 11. So I love the way it says this. It says, chill out, relax, and read. You're responsible. This is the adrenals, the thyroid, your temperature, tells you not to eat. So it's got a little bit of information right here. Melatonin secretion begins, so right there's a little clue to you if you wanted to do some, if you're taking some melatonin or what else, some ideas outside of the WAVwatch. But on this one, you're strictly going to go to thyroid, and thyroid balance is usually the perfect one to play. And then adrenals. So you could play either of those if you're having trouble more going to bed going to sleep from 9 to 11. So I would play that starting at 7 o'clock. You're sitting there on the couch in the evening or whatever, and you have trouble going to sleep at those particular times already. You know that. Then pay attention to your adrenals and thyroid before bedtime. And then hopefully when you're getting in bed, if it's between 9 and 11, then you should have a little bit more relaxation and an ability to sleep at that particular time. Now I have one more chart that's the same thing. It was just set up just a little bit different. And this one actually has the, the time instead of the 24-hour clock. So that may be a little bit easier for you, but it has just some really neat little ideas. And I encourage you to print these out or something else that you might see on the internet. And this one does have the area or the .com that I got this from. So again, very important to look at those kind of ideas. So mostly the sleep organs are going to be the triple warmer ideas. It's going to be the gallbladder. It's going to be liver, and it's going to be lungs. So very, very important for us to be working with those. If those simple basic ideas, insomnia, sleep apnea, sleep disorders, emotions 1, 2, and 3 are not working for you. Now, a lot of people, that's all they need. So you could do that way. Very, very easy. So I hope you like this Chinese body clock. I'm not sure if everybody's heard of it before. One of my favorite things that I see that people do not know about. So I did take the time to print this out too, or to, write it up so that you can see the difference there. So again, if you're waking up at 3 to 5 in the morning, that's problems with your lungs. And sadly and interestingly enough, that's when most people die, is from 3 to 5 in the morning because their lungs have given out. So very, very, very interesting. So I tried to make you a chart there. Now let's go just a little bit more in depth. So lungs have to do with grief and sadness. So if you want to look at some specific emotions, maybe you're still, you could play those emotions before you go to bed, work with that. Possibly you could put together a favorites list. And in that favorites list, if you know you're waking up from 3 to 5, you could put the lung combo in that favorite list. And so I'm hoping everybody knows how to make a favorite list, but I'll see if I can kind of show you just a little close up. We're going to activate my watch. It went to sleep, saving energy there. And what we're going to do is go first to the problem area, what we want to put in our favorites list. So I'm going to go down to lungs. This is my example for you. And I'm just going to open the respiratory lung combo. And then all I have to do is go across to the third icon, which is the heart, and touch the heart. As soon as I touch it, with the right tap or the moisture on my finger, get the right angle. You do have to work with it once in a while. Then it will be checked, and that will be put into playlist number 1. So as soon as you check it here, it's in playlist number 1. So now we would want to go back to grief and sadness, if that's something that you're stringing together. So a couple different ways that you can do this. You can touch the menu bar on the lower right-hand corner. And my grandson calls this the hamburger sign, So evidently those kids, they make it easier. So it's a hamburger symbol or the menu. And then right away, you'll see at the very top of this, it says home. So then go back to home. And that makes it easier. You're going to your 3 swipe screens. So now all we need to do is locate emotions. So we'll swipe across this screen and we'll see emotions. And then we're going to look at some different types of things for grief and sadness. So there's a lot of possibilities in our booklet for grief and sadness. So you might want to put several ideas there. You might want to put, seeing where we're at here, there's anguish, anguish, despair, and sorrow. So that's one that I would do, and that's in the single box emotions. So just for quickness on this, we're going to go up and we'll see the Bach emotions is in yellow. We'll highlight it. And then we're going to go down to the second one, anguish, despair, and put that one in. We've opened it. It's now on the screen where it would it is plain, but then we want to touch the heart to put it into our frequency list. So that's all we've done there. So then we could continue looking and seeing if there's any other emotions that we want to work on that would be connected with grief and sadness. And there might be a few more ideas along those lines. Now, lung imbalance, I put a little note there for you. If you're having night sweats, fatigue, frequent colds and flu, allergies, and dry skin. So another way to work on the lungs is to look at some of the symptoms. So we could go to fatigue. We see that in there. Fatigue isn't, causes us a lot of kind of problems. It's connected with many, many things, but still you could put fatigue in your favorite list if that was of interest to you. So I can see right away, fatigue is on page 6. That's the very first one in immune system. So that's why that little booklet is kind of nice to have and to keep. So if you want to turn to page 6 and follow with me, we're going to swipe across here. We're going to use the home button to go back very quickly. We use the hamburger button, I guess you'd say, and we're going to go to chronic. And then basically we're going to go down. You can see you have to go down. It's about the 6th or 7th idea in chronic. So we're trying to touch this lower left-hand button. Very hard to show this to you. I apologize for that. But we are going to immune system. And then we're selecting fatigue, which is the very first one. Now we have it on this screen. This is the screen that if I turned it up, you would hear all the sounds. I'm sure you don't want to hear that, but that's what I'm telling you. That's the music screen. That's a way to call it. That's the vibe screen. That's a vibration screen. That's the frequency screen. Could be called several different things. So we want to turn that down to about number 4 so that nobody can hear that. So on that particular screen, and sometimes it will stop here. You can swipe if you need to. So on that screen, we are able to put it into our favorites list. And some people get just a little bit carried away on that. So all we're going to do is just touch the heart, and it's now in our favorites list. So if there were any other symptoms that you were having, you could find those. So maybe you want to put in a few more things on immune complex, because it says frequent cold and flu. You could code in some cold and flu things, but you don't know exactly what. So to me, at this point, it would be a good thing to code in the immune system diseases, immune system stabilization. There might be several ideas on that folder in immune system that you could add to your list, just for trying to help you sleep better when you know that your lungs seem to be the problem. And I was kind of emphasizing lungs to start with, because we have so many people that are having trouble. They may have had COVID, they may have had a shot, whatever the situation is, they know they've got some lung problems. And I didn't think about it even putting this in, but a lot of you know that I do have thermography. And just last week, I had a young gal come in, and I didn't actually do the thermogram. My assistant, Courtney, did. And the lady was solid red from here all the way up, and Courtney had asked me if there was any suggestions on the WAVwatch, and I just did some muscle testing. And I said, wow, it seems to me like you need some support with COVID. And the young gal goes, well, yeah, I've had COVID twice. She was, had not had a shot. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying she hadn't had a shot, but she had, problems with COVID. And she said she was still having a little trouble with her lungs. So again, it's interesting when you're able to muscle test. So we pulled that right out. She was able to spend about 45 minutes in my office, and she wore the WAVwatch for COVID on a loop. I set it on the loop, the one with the 2 arrows looping around it. And she didn't have enough time. It didn't actually even go the whole distance, because that particular one is 1 hour and 5 minutes. She had 45 minutes. And basically we were able to take another image of her, and that red, the heat pattern had just really dissipated a lot. So that was very, very exciting. And she said, yeah, she had a little bit of relief there. So we'll see if we can make contact with her to see how long that lasted. But it was very interesting to see that. So when your lungs are full, if you've had, some problems with, again, waking up from 3 to 5, you've had COVID, anything along those lines, you could make yourself a favorites list with grief and sadness in it, with some of these symptoms, with the sleep problems, and hopefully that would also take care of that. Now, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Here's liver. What if you're waking up from 1 to 3? So the liver, the emotions attached with that are anger, resentment, frustration, irritability. So the list of ideas that you could pick from here there's quite a few of them, if you wanted to put those into a particular folder, or if you just wanted to remember that and play with it. So we've got headaches. We have skin condition, pain below the right lower rib, jaundice, irritation, toxic and sluggishness, digestive issues, low energy, anger again, and even red eyes. So there were just a few ideas for some of the symptoms connected with liver. So you may not even realize that some of those are liver ideas, or maybe you already do. So again, even before you go to bed, you can play the liver ideas, or you could play some of those specific emotional ideas that are connected to liver problems. You could just play insomnia, but you do kind of want to start that before you go to bed. That's how I think, but maybe sometime you wake up from 1 to 3. Well, then just go ahead and program liver, go to organ systems and liver and program that. And I've gone back to sleep several times with that. Now, I can't say that it's perfect. I don't play something every night for insomnia. So I can't say that I have a perfect track record with sleeping every night, but basically, I do know that there are some different things that you can do, and some people have had really good results with that. So let's continue so that we have time for a question and answer. But gallbladder would be another one. So if you're having trouble, again, according to the Chinese body clock, from 9 to 11, basically or excuse me, I said that wrong, 11 to 1, you're having trouble with gallbladder. And then resentment would be one of the main emotions with that. So kick that in some way before you go to bed. Play frequencies that you have located in the booklet that have to do with resentment. It may not be the exact word, but you can find several that are very good for that. One would be, let's see, I was trying to find one. Can't read. Overwork, workaholic, worried, over concern. You'll have to kind of pay attention to your possible problems, but there are several in there that would fit in that particular idea that are from the Bach emotional remedies. So these could be some problems, some physical problems, and maybe you really hadn't thought of it, but probably if you've got gallbladder problems, you're going to know it. So you're going to have some pain in your abdomen, nausea, fever, yellowish skin possibly, and your urine's going to be a little bit different colored too. Now, a lot of times, I kind of cut and pasted this really quick for this article this morning, but a lot of times people have shoulder pain, right shoulder pain, and sometimes they're even going to have some heart palpitations from heart problems. And a lot of times they'll go in and think it is their heart when it's actually a gallbladder problem. So there can be more symptoms than this. But again, if you're waking up from 9 to 11, there's some gallbladder connections there. Very important to know your body. And most people are. We're paying more and more attention to it. So I'm so proud of you for attending today and for catching some information and then sharing your own. The next one is endocrine system. So that has to do with your adrenals and your thyroid, some other things, but those would be the main two. So self-esteem, inadequacy, time are very important when you are having trouble with your thyroid and and adrenals. Again, it's time, inadequacy, self-esteem, those kind of ideas would flow into that. And again, that starts at from 9 to 11. If you're not going to sleep there, you're having trouble with your endocrine system. So very important. I found a little chart here. I thought it was easier. So if you're hypothyroid, you might have some of these problems. And if you're hyperthyroid, you're going to have some different problems. But the symptoms behind it, the emotional symptoms, are usually pretty close to the same. So if you're having any of these problems and you're waking up at that particular time of the night, according to the Chinese body clock, or not even going to sleep is what I probably should have said, those are some things that you could run. So I think it's important to run the WAVwatch, especially for the thyroid or the adrenals, before you go to sleep. You don't want to go to sleep from 9 to 11 and say, oh, I should have ran that, So you do want to do some proactive things before you go to bed. So I think I started another list and forgot that particular one. I am actually kind of at a closing point with some of the information I have. So I'm going to kind of open it up to participants to see if there's anybody that has some new ideas. So I'll stop sharing the screen here and we'll see anybody have any comments that they'd like to make on some of the information that I shared. Feel free to unmute yourself, or if you have any comments or any testimonies, this is the time to do it. We are still live on Facebook and recording, but love to have you hear what you have to say.
Linda, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to say fantastic presentation. And I appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Like I said, the last 10 days when the 5G supposedly, took a little step up, I have started having trouble with my sleep a lot more than normal. I don't know if anybody else has had that, or if they even think there might be a connection. So the one I play at night usually is the EMF detox. And I'll put some rosemary, here and make sure my Wi-Fi's off. And, I'm starting to have a little bit of ringing in my ears that I never had before. It just came up. So I'm not saying I've got it taken care of yet, but any other suggestions or any suggestions? Any test? Yeah, sure. Loretta, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Loretta, and I got my watch from Jimmy. Coach Jimmy.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
great.
and I understand you're going to be speaking tomorrow on his show.
Yes, have another
Yes,
group
I'm
for
looking
you.
forward to that. Yeah, I also have a PEMF machine mat that I sleep on that I got from him, a Sedona. And I was wondering if I could use the watch laying on the mat. Now that's a electromagnetic mat.
Again, we do have to be careful. There was a little bit of discussion on this before I started recording, but the WAVwatch is acoustical frequencies.
Yeah.
So I think it is okay to use with a menagerie of other tools, because if it wasn't, you would be told to put on earplugs and to keep every single frequency out of your body. You wouldn't be allowed to listen to music. You know, people will say, well, is this going to hurt my heart? You know, Kath, or, you know, that's not the word I wanted to say. My stent, is it going to bother such and such? Is it going to bother my heart? And it's like, well, if you could listen to a song and it's not bothering your heart, then this is not going to bother your heart. It is music. So that's, I'm not saying that's scientific or that has been tried against all these other things, but it should be okay as far as
perhaps maybe we can discuss that tomorrow night then.
Yes, and I feel comfortable. I wear the WAVwatch. I have a biomat. I have a beamer, you know, and I wear some combinations. I also have just started working with a med bed, 9010 med bed, and that's also energy and frequencies. And the same way on that particular tool, they told us that we could do any kind of energetic type product in combination. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions that I can answer, or testimonies, or any support?
Gosh, Linda, this one, as usual, was amazing. I was texting Missy real quickly saying, you know, already sent her the list or the updates for your meeting, your Zoom calls, and I said, I hope you're on, and taking pictures of your Chinese time clock. So I'm going to send those via text. And she's just now saying, hopefully she's recording. And I'm going, well, yes, but it hasn't been released yet. So this is one, because she does have sleeping issues and she's got the watch. And so I just need to, I'll talk with her and try to help encourage her to use, I made some notes here that I can see if it won't help her, because she's always, you know, she's OCD. And so she's always, you know, high on that anxiety chart.
Perfect. So we'll go through this one more time. So when we finish, all I have to do is click a button, and this will be live on Facebook. So all she would need to do, or anybody else would need to do, would be go to Facebook and then WAVwatch, put in that word first. And don't forget, it's spelled WAV, stands for waves and vibrations. So WAVwatch frequency fanatics, you know, had to get several words in there. Couldn't think of anything shorter, but I wanted to encourage people who are into frequency so that they would recognize that. So that's all she has to do. And it'll be live as soon as we get off. Okay. So that's kind of why I had to step up a little bit and do live on Facebook. All right. Anybody have any other ideas?
And it will be there. I mean, it's not going to just be a one time, but it will be there.
It should be. That's what I was understanding. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Again, one other thing that I've been struggling with in my own life. This tool is extraordinarily wonderful. The most wonderful tool I've seen in all my years of working in this area. What I noticed is that I have a resistance to heal, and it always comes down to emotion or belief. So with your talk today, Linda, I'm going to find the energy or whatever it is that doesn't want me to get better, and play that first to see if I can clear away some of those resistances. And I would encourage everyone to accept the idea that we all have a death wish. Everyone is working on it, and it reflects itself in terms of my destructive patterns. I'm not talking about anyone else. This is just my experience and my suggestion. I offer that to you just as an observation of myself.
Perfect. and I think I'll go over this again. I talk about it every time, but to me, it's the most important thing. Make sure that you're drinking plenty of water, and then of course, before you're going to bed, you're going to limit your water. So you're going to drink your water more heavily during the day, but very, very important. And then also make sure that you are taking minerals in some way, shape, or form. And my favorite is natural, unrefined sea salt. There are 3 different kinds that I promote, and that would be the Celtic, the Redmond Real salt, or the Himalayan salt. And those obviously are colored minerals, colored salts. They have 80 some different minerals in them, and they're different colored because they have different minerals in different proportions. And that should be something we should have known since grade school, But again, we were kind of indoctrinated, and I guess I make an example, but I really think that we've been misled with white salt that has been refined and all the minerals taken out. So we have missed those almost our whole life, when they have done studies that prove that before refrigeration, so that's, 100 years ago, whenever refrigeration started, but before that, they studied cultures for 200 years. And they knew that everybody in the whole world took between 1 and 3 teaspoons of salt. So we took them more with dried fruits and, fermented, that kind of thing. Well, today we're not doing that. So we have to figure out another way to get those minerals in our body. And it's supremely important. This is my big spiel. This is just as important to me as a WAVwatch, is the salt, the minerals. Make sure that you get those, because those minerals kick off your amino acids. They make sure that your vitamins work. If you don't have the right right mineral, sometimes a vitamin that you spend a lot of money on, it's not going to work correctly anyway. And then you need to make sure that you have enzymes working and kicked off. So it's endless what they will do. And then you can look up all the 80 minerals. Are you going to have 80 bottles of minerals sitting around? So you want them in one easy captioned idea. So figure out a way that you can take some salt in a different proportion. My dad was a farmer, and for 40 years, his soil, all they put back in was potassium and, nitrogen. That was all they put back in the soil. So our soils have been stripped. There are not minerals in our foods like there used to be. So find some type of salt that you can take. And again, I take mine in just a little bit of water and about a teaspoon of salt that I muscle tested for, the correct kind for me. And I'll just gulp it down when I take my other pills. So that's my little spiel on that today, but I want to get it in. That makes the WAVwatch work better, because the minerals will, everything just moves better when you have the correct amount of minerals in your body. Okay, any other questions or comments or even testimonies?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
On the salt, I follow your thing, Linda. And what I do is I take a little dropper bottle and I fill it up halfway with salt and water, put it and heat it up, and it hyper perfuses the water with supersaturated salt, so that when I take my salt, I can titrate what I need by droppers, little 1 or 2 drops. And sometimes when I'm wanting sweets, I'll just take a couple of droppers, little drops of salt, and it tastes really great. And my sweet craving goes away. So that's my way of using the salt.
Okay. And there's cell salts. There's, people can saturate water. The list is endless. You can just take it. And sometimes I just take maybe a half a teaspoon of salt, and I'll just, put it in the palm of my hand and then just drink some water, because I can tell that I need it. What happened to, remember when all our athletes used to have to take salt tablets? They don't do that anymore. They're just taking some kind of a drink that doesn't have the correct amount of minerals in it. So do pass that word around to everybody. Your WAVwatch will work better if you've got more water and the correct amount of minerals in your body. Anything else that we should do? Don't want to, waste anybody's time, but I really appreciate you coming today. And don't forget to share this, pass it around on Facebook if that's something that you can possibly do. And I am trying to get a form up so that if you have some kind of a testimony, if you'd like to do a video testimony, you can certainly email it to you. A lot of you have, communicated with me already. You can go to the website, see more and more information. It's being changed all the time. And just keep in touch. Then I'll be having another Zoom call and Facebook Live next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. I find these sessions very helpful.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Get a drink of water.
I know. That's why I stopped recording it. So supposedly it stopped recording.
Okay.